is being called a dark moment for America. The targeted shooting of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk during an outdoor event at Utah Valley University.
It was shocking, so unexpected, not in St. George, not in St. George.
Not in this tight community
Yeah.
The headlines came fast, brutal, and unbelievable. Charlie Kirk assassinated. The name alone set the internet on fire. A political activist known for his sharp tongue and loyal following, Kirk's death sent shockwaves through America's conservative circles. But as investigators peeled back the layers of this case, what started as a tragic shooting began to look less like random violence and more like the opening chapter of a political thriller. Money, missing people, and quiet power moves in the background. This is the story of what we know, what we've been told, and what we're not supposed to ask. Let's start from the moment everything changed. September 11th, Utah Valley University. Charlie Kirk was addressing a packed auditorium, part of his nationwide speaking tour. For him, it was just another stop, an evening to rally students, challenge the establishment, and spark debate. But minutes after stepping off stage, chaos erupted, a gunshot, screams, and within moments, America's most polarizing young political voice was gone. The man accused of pulling the trigger? 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, a name that would soon dominate every front page. Authorities moved fast. Robinson was arrested a day later, charged with aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, and felony discharge of a firearm. Prosecutors didn't hold back. They announced they'd be seeking the death penalty. But even as the facts seemed straightforward, something about the story didn't sit right. Who was Robinson? What was his motive? And what about the rumors that started spreading just hours after the arrest? Rumors of missing money, hidden messages, and a vanishing partner? Court records revealed that Robinson had no prior criminal history. He wasn't politically active, wasn't part of any known extremist groups. Neighbors described him as quiet, polite, even gentle. So how does an ordinary young man end up accused of assassinating one of the most controversial figures in American politics? That's where the details begin to twist. During pre-trial hearings, Judge Tony Graff ruled that Robinson could wear civilian clothes in court to preserve the presumption of innocence, but required that he remain restrained. It was a small but symbolic gesture that captured the strange duality of this case, an accused assassin being treated with caution, yet dignity. The courtrooms were tense, packed with media, security, and speculation. Every appearance, every filing, every photograph became part of the larger narrative forming online. A narrative that didn't just ask who killed Charlie Kirk, but why. Then came the first major leak, reports suggesting a $350,000 transfer connected to the days before the shooting. The source of that money? Still murky. Some claimed it was tied to Robinson's employer. Others suggested it came from a private donor network known to fund political operations. Investigators didn't confirm those claims, but the number, $350,000, was enough to ignite 1,000 conspiracy threads overnight. What was the money for? Was it payment, blackmail, or something else entirely? And why did the paper trail seem to vanish right after Kirk's death? Digging deeper, analysts found another layer, one that made the story even darker. Robinson wasn't alone. Multiple witnesses recalled seeing another man near the scene, a partner, possibly an accomplice, who fled moments after the shooting. Yet days later, that second man was gone. No arrest, no identity released, just missing. Local authorities downplayed it, calling it a misunderstanding of witness statements. But for many watching, it felt like the first hint of a cover-up. Political cover-ups don't always happen in smoky backrooms. Sometimes they unfold in silence, through what's not said, what's redacted, and what quietly disappears from public record. Within a week, several of Robinson's online profiles vanished. His previous employer issued no comment, and a handful of local journalists reported receiving pressure to stop digging into campaign finance connections linked to the case. Coincidence? Maybe. But in the court of public opinion, coincidences rarely survive scrutiny. Meanwhile, the reaction across the political spectrum couldn't have been more divided. Kirk's supporters called it an assassination, an attack not just on a man, but on an ideology. His critics warned against jumping to conclusions, insisting the investigation should speak for itself. But social media doesn't wait for evidence. Hashtags like #JusticeForKirk and #RobinsonFiles trended for days, as every new piece of information, or rumor, fed the frenzy. The digital war over truth had begun. Then, attention shifted to the $350,000 again. Financial analysts and watchdogs started tracing potential connections to political action committees and private consulting firms. Nothing confirmed, but enough dots to make people uncomfortable. The question wasn't just who pulled the trigger, it was who paid for it. And if money did move, what was it meant to accomplish? Silencing a voice? Sending a message? Or was the entire narrative being twisted to serve someone else's agenda? Judge Graff's court has tried to stay above the noise. He emphasized repeatedly that Robinson's presumption of innocence remains. Yet as the hearings continued, details leaked about the evidence being collected, digital messages, phone records, and what prosecutors described as unusual financial activity. They haven't elaborated, but those words alone were enough to fuel new theories. Because in modern America, every tragedy becomes a battleground of information. There's another thread too, a quieter one, involving the missing partner. Witnesses claimed they saw Robinson speaking to a man wearing a baseball cap near the parking lot shortly before the shooting. That individual was never identified. Weeks later, unverified reports surfaced that someone matching that description had crossed into Nevada using a rental car under a fake name. Authorities have neither confirmed nor denied this, but it adds one more puzzle piece to a picture that refuses to make sense. Forensic investigators continue to work on ballistics and digital evidence, but the public conversation has moved far beyond the courtroom. Commentators are asking whether political figures connected to Kirk might be influencing the pace or direction of the investigation. Others say the cover-up narrative is just a distraction meant to politicize a tragic act of violence. Either way, one thing is clear. The story isn't just about who killed Charlie Kirk. It's about how power, perception, and influence collide when a nation's divisions turn deadly. And that's the haunting reality here. In a time when politics feels like warfare, every death becomes a message, every investigation, a battlefield. Whether Robinson acted alone, whether money changed hands, whether someone is hiding the truth, these questions don't just haunt Utah, they haunt America. Because if a high-profile political figure can be taken down in front of hundreds, and the story that follows becomes a maze of contradictions and missing links, what does that say about transparency, justice, and trust in the system itself? As the next court date approaches in January, all eyes will be on the Utah courthouse. Robinson's defense team insists he's being framed. Prosecutors maintain their case is airtight, but somewhere between those two extremes lies the messy, uncomfortable truth. A truth that may involve more than one man, more than one motive, and more than one cover story. Until then, the mystery deepens. The $350,000, the missing partner, the whispers of political pressure, and a nation divided over what this killing really means. Was it a lone act of violence, a carefully orchestrated hit, or something even more complex, an operation designed to manipulate public perception itself? As this investigation unfolds, one thing is certain. The assassination of Charlie Kirk has become more than a criminal case. It's a mirror reflecting America's darkest questions about power, money, and truth. And somewhere, hidden between the official reports and the online noise, the real story waits to be uncovered. Because in today's world, silence isn't absence, it's strategy. And every unanswered question leaves a trail. But now the question goes to you. What do you think really happened here? Was Tyler Robinson just a scapegoat caught in a storm he didn't create? Was that $350,000 a coincidence, a payout, or proof of something much bigger? And what about the missing partner, a ghost in the story, or the key to unlocking it all? Do you believe this was a lone act of violence, or a message carefully planted in the heart of America's political divide? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this story isn't just about what's in the headlines. It's about what we see between the lines. Thank you for watching. If you found this breakdown informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dive analyses into stories the mainstream won't touch.